Hey guys, welcome to your Monday, May the 4th Read Aloud. We're going to do a couple West Virginia authors this week. This one is called The Relatives Came. It is a story by Cynthia Rylant, illustrated by Stephen Gamble. Cynthia Rylant is from West Virginia. If you go in real close here, you'll see that this is a Caldecott Honor Book, meaning it got an award for its beautiful pictures, beautiful illustrations. So take a look at those as I'm reading, okay? Here's the title page. Let's talk about the word relative. What does it mean? Who are your relatives? Well, those are people related to you. Those are members of your family. And those are like aunts and uncles and cousins. The word relative comes from related. Relate, relative. They go together. And we call them family. Here's the dedication page. It is for Aunt Agnes Little and her brood, Dick Jackson and his, and Jerry and ours. I'm guessing Jerry's probably her husband. Because brood is another term for family or kids. Check out the illustrations, okay, while I'm reading. It was in the summer of the year when the relatives came. They came up from Virginia. They left when their grapes were nearly purple enough to pick, but not quite. They had an old station wagon that smelled like a real car, and in it they put an ice chest full of soda pop and some boxes of crackers and some bologna sandwiches, and up they came from Virginia. They left at 4 in the morning when it was still dark, before even the birds were awake. Now remember the ice chest? Remember the ice box of Mr. Popper's Penguins? The ice box was the fridge. The ice chest is a cooler. Wow, look at those robes. They drove all day long and into the night, and while they traveled along, they looked at the strange houses and different mountains, and they thought about their almost purple grapes back home. They thought about Virginia, but they thought about us too, waiting for them. So they drank up all their pop and ate up all their crackers and traveled up all those miles until finally they pulled into our yard. Now, did you notice they said pulled into our yard, not our driveway? That's country living, guys. Then it was hugging time. Talk about hugging. Those relatives just passed us all around their car, pulling us against their wrinkled Virginia clothes, crying sometimes. They hugged us for hours. Then it was into the house. So much laughing and shining faces and hugging in the doorways. You'd have to go through at least 4 different hugs to get from the kitchen to the front door. Those relatives. Look in those windows. And finally, after a big supper 2 or 3 times around, until we all got a turn at the table, there was quiet talk, and we were in 2s and 3s throughout the house. They were visiting each other. The relatives weren't particular about beds, which was good since there weren't any extras. So a few squeezed in with us, and the rest slept on the floor, some with their arms thrown over the closest person, or some with an arm across one person and a leg against another. It was different going to sleep with all that new breathing in the house. Look at that house, full of relatives. Our beds look like this sometimes with just my own kids. The relatives stayed for weeks and weeks. They helped us tend the garden, and they fixed any broken things that they could find. That looks like a lot of fun. They ate up all our strawberries and melons, then promised we could eat up all their grapes and peaches when we came to Virginia. Look at these beautiful pictures, illustrations. But none of us thought about Virginia much. We were so busy hugging and eating and breathing together. Finally, after a long time, the relatives loaded up their ice chest and headed back to Virginia at 4 in the morning. We stood there in our pajamas and waved them off in the dark. We watched the relatives disappear down the road. Then we crawled back into our beds that felt too big and too quiet. We fell asleep. And the relatives drove on all day long and into the night. And while they traveled along, they looked at the strange houses and different mountains, and they thought about their dark purple grapes waiting at home in Virginia. But they thought about us too, missing them, and they missed us. And when they were finally home in Virginia, they crawled into their silent, soft beds and dreamed about the next summer. The end. And there's their grapes. I hope you enjoyed Cynthia Rylant's book. We're going to read another Cynthia Ryland book tomorrow. Bye.